Under the lead masks, the hill where the light waited, a real story. Listen closely and keep the room lights low. I'm about to lead you back to a cold Brazilian afternoon in August 1966, when two electronics technicians, Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, climbed Morro do Vintém carrying nothing but a handful of screwed-up vials, waterproof raincoats, and two crude shields of hammered lead. Some say they expected a revelation. Others whisper they were lured by something older than reason. What remains beyond dispute is this. A few hours later, their bodies were discovered lying side by side in the reeds, eyes hidden behind those homemade masks, their faces frozen in an almost serene refusal to see whatever had finally shown itself. A damp notebook page fluttered nearby, bearing 6 penciled lines. 1630B, at the place, swallow the protective capsules. After the light's appearance, wait for mask, signal, confirm success, eternal contact. God willing. Police called it odd, reporters called it madness, but the hillside still calls at night. And those who walk too close swear they hear voices tapping like radio static through the wind, voices asking whether you, too, have brought your mask. Tonight, you'll hear the real story, not the clipped newspaper column, not the half-smiling photographs, but the long echo of dread that began long before the men climbed the slope and still coils through the city of Niterói like a phantom voltage. Close your eyes, steady your breath, and follow the crackle of that invisible current as it threads its way into your living room. This is only the beginning. Chapter 1. An invitation, written in light. You are. Miguel, now calloused fingers, permanently scented with solder and ozone. For months, you and Manuel have huddled after shifts in the back of the electronics shop, arguing over blueprints that no one else can read. Late July nights find you both staring at a crude vacuum tube transmitter, convinced it is a doorway. Whenever the tubes glow orange, a faint hum ripples through the ceiling plaster, rearranging dust into unfamiliar constellations. In those moments, Manuel swears he can taste metal in the air, like blood struck by lightning. The transmitter never speaks words, only number sequences that repeat until dawn. You copy them obsessively in the margins of cigarette boxes, on bar receipts, on your own forearms, until the ink bleeds. Eventually the pattern sharpens into coordinates, minus 22.895 S, menos 43º milésimo centésimo oitavo www Morro do Vintém, the hill you climbed as a boy to watch storms roll across Guanabara Bay. When the final coordinate clicks into place, the hum stops. The shop lights flicker off, but the vacuum tubes shine brighter, bathing the room in specter-white glare. Then, a single pulse. Wait for the light. The tubes die. Silence rushes in, loud as a crowded stadium. You and Manuel barely speak on the bus ride home. Words feel flimsy now. You only nod, already understanding everything. The hill, the masks, the capsules freshly purchased from a chemist willing to ask no questions. August 17, 1966, 14:05. Rain spits against the collectivos cracked windows as you rattle toward the base of Morro do Vintém. In your bag, 2 plastic-sealed trench coats, the lead visors wrapped in newspaper, 3 screw-top vials holding dull gray tablets that smell faintly of burnt matches, and the notebook already dated and timed with a precision bordering on reverence. At the footpath entrance, a stray dog growls, then retreats as though repelled by a sound only it can hear. You glance up. The sky is colorless. A blank television channel, waiting to be tuned as you climb. Every transistor project you ever built feels primitive beside the promise ahead. 30 meters from the summit, the forest hush deepens. Even the cicadas clamp their wings. Manuel removes his wristwatch and notes the time. 16:29. Your pulse answers in Morse SOS. Inside your ribcage, you swallow the first capsule. The bitterness is immediate, spreading like frost along your tongue. Heat follows, blooming down your throat until your vision tightens into a tunnel. Manuel's silhouette wavers, haloed in amber, as if someone has pulled a dimmer on reality itself. Las 4:30 de la tarde. The sky ruptures without thunder. A sphere of searing white emerges above the crest, hovering motionless, yet vibrating with impossible speed. Its brilliance drills through your eyelids. Instinctively you lift the lead mask, pressing its cold weight against your face. Darkness returns, but it is an electric darkness, alive with afterimages that dance like sunspots across the inside of the visor. Someone, a voice that might be yours, whispers, "Confirm success." Manuel answers, in a language you don't recognize, a string of syllables that scrape the back of your teeth even as he speaks them. The capsule's heat surges. You feel your heartbeat slow, then synchronize with the deep thrum pouring out of the light. Reality buckles, breath pauses, and for one suspended second, you understand what it means to stand on the threshold of eternal contact. Then the ground tilts. Your legs fold. The lead mask slips sideways, showing you a final glimpse of this sphere as it contracts to a pinprick and blinks out like an old CRT shutting down. The hillside returns, drenched in shadow. Wind whips your raincoat. 17:10. Your notebook lies open, pages fluttering with invisible wings. Your last sensation is neither fear nor wonder, but the bittersweet relief of static fading to zero. Chapter 2. The static that followed the dead. You are Inspector Octavio Das, now boots skidding on wet clay as you climb Morro du Vintém the next dawn. The call came before sunrise. 2 bodies, strange masks, no witnesses. You carry a thermos of sour coffee and the uneasy sense that the case file is already heavier than the hill itself. The crime scene photographer snaps in silence. Each flashbulb flare reveals details too bizarre for the official report. The men lie as though tucked in by an invisible undertaker, hands folded, faces toward the sky beneath those dull lead shields. Their formal suits are soaked, but their shoes are spotless, laces double knotted. Between them, a craft paper bag containing an empty water bottle, 2 damp towels, 3 spent batteries, and the notebook with those chilling 6 lines. You read them twice, then a third time, the letters seeming to pulse like red indicators on a control panel. Protective capsules. After the light's appearance, eternal contact. The words cling to your thoughts, the way solder clings to copper. An autopsy is ordered. At the medical examiner's table, fluorescent lights buzz above flesh-gone marble panel. There are no stab wounds, no bruises, no obvious trauma. Yet when Dr. Santos cuts into Manuel's chest cavity, a sour metallic smell floods the room. Then formaldehyde, more acrid than blood. His organs look cooked, somehow edges gray-brown like meat left too long on a hot grill. Toxicology will later reveal nothing. No cyanide, no arsenic, no barbiturates, an impossible blank where answers should be. But something did invade them. On both hearts, Santos finds minute burns, perfect concentric circles, no larger than transistor wafers, etched into the myocardium, as though branded by a microtorch. The doctor glances at you, voice barely above a whisper. "I've never seen lesions like this. It's as if they were exposed to microwave beams from inside." That night you drive home along Avenida Marqués do Paraná, windows down too. Chase the scent of morgue bleach from your nose. Yet the smell of burnt metal persists, clinging to your uniform. When you switch on the radio to drown your thoughts, all stations spit the same staccato burst of numbers: 3 digits, pause, 2 digits, pause, repeatant, till you yank the knob off in fright. The cab interior plunges into hush so thick you can hear your own pulse drumming in your eardrums. Meanwhile, on a rooftop 6 blocks away, a retired shortwave hobbyist called Dona Lucia Silva adjusts her antenna and swears she sees sparks dancing along the aluminum rods. At 2314, she logs a spike at 30.2 MHz, a rising oscillation that sounds exactly like breathing. She notes the coordinates, triangulated by the signal, 22.895 S, minus 43.108 W, then slams her diary shut. It is the same hill, the same real story that tomorrow's tabloids will sensationalize as UFO suicide pact, but that you, Inspector Fridas, will come to call the static. Days stretch into a choking August heat wave. The technician's funeral draws a hush over Niterói, yet something unseen keeps humming beneath the city's asphalt skin. At the electronics shop where Miguel and Manuel worked, televisions flicker on by themselves, showing only a blinding white screen. Customers complain of headaches the moment they step past the threshold. 2 apprentices quit after hearing a voice whisper through inactive speakers. Confirmed success. You return to Morro do Vintém with a detachment of cadets, hoping to find overlooked evidence. Instead, you find silence, birds absent, insects stilled, as though the ecosystem itself holds its breath around the clearing. Your Geiger counter clicks once, then locks its needle at 0. Dead. The cadet adjusting the probe curses softly. The batteries are fresh, but the circuitry feels drained. You jot it down in your notebook, heart pricking with the same fear. You saw frozen on the dead men's faces, a fear not of violence, but of seeing too much. At sunset, a sudden fog crawls up the hillside, thick as wool, swallowing the path back to the patrol jeep. Cadet Ramos swears he hears a low-frequency note, like the hum of a television when the picture tube dies. Your flashlight beam struggles against the mist, illuminating only arm's-length pockets of swirling gray. Then, ahead, 2 faint shapes bloom in your cone of light wind silhouettes, lying supine, wearing suits. Your mind sprints for explanations. Mannequins, hallucination, trauma flashback. You step closer. The shapes dissolve into empty trench coats flung over a bush, sleeves flattened by dew. Beneath each coat is a pair of muddy footprints that stop, abruptly. Toes pointed skyward, as if someone were levitated out of their shoes. Ramos Radius Base. Static answers. You crouch, fingertip brushing the imprint of a soul still collecting rainwater. It is smaller than the technician's shoe, size childlike. Your flashlight flickers, battery fresh moments ago, now sputtering to 0. Darkness seals the clearing with a finality that feels deliberate. From somewhere behind the fog comes a click, identical to a vacuum tube cooling after power down. Another click. Then a voice rasped, sexless, speaks Portuguese through a mouth shaped by neither lung nor tongue. After the light, the words collapse into white noise, and the night swallows itself. You sprint blind, branches whipping your face, until the underbrush thins, and the jeep's headlights bloom like salvation through the mist. When you glance back, the fog retreats, uphill, rolling in smooth, concentric rings, as though guided by a silent metronome. Back at headquarters, you file a report, full of ellipses and unsteady handwriting. Captain Faraz skims it, eyes narrowing at the phrase, child-sized footprints. He lights a cigarette, exhales ribbon smoke, and mutters, "We need to keep this quiet, Inspector. People will panic. No more UFO talk." You think of the funeral, the humming radios, the scorched hearts. You think of the notebook's last line, "God willing," and wonder whether divinity has any jurisdiction here. As you leave his office, the hallway fluorescents buzz louder than usual. For a heartbeat they flash ultraviolet, turning every officer's uniform corpse -blue dot. That same night, 6 kilometers away, Donna Lucia Silva climbs her apartment stairs and never reaches her door. Neighbors later recall hearing her transistor radio crackle with a deafening choir of whispers just before she screamed. They found her collapsed on the landing, eyes open, pupils dilated, hands covering invisible earmuffs. Cause of death, cardiac arrest. On her notepad, investigators discover the sequence 302-302-302 repeated page after page. spiraling inward until the pen ripped through the paper. Lead masks would not have helped her, you think? They would not help anyone who listens too closely. The static is spreading. You can feel it under your fingernails, taste it in tap water, hear it in the hush between syllables when people speak. Something unfinished on that hillside has latched onto Niterói's electrical veins, pulsing through copper wires, waiting for the right frequency to sing fully into this world. You check your wristwatch. 16:29. For half a breath, you expect a sphere of light to bloom in the squad room ceiling. It doesn't yet, but even the absence feels like a countdown. Somewhere, the protective capsules are dissolving, and someone is lifting a home-crafted visor to await instruction. Chapter 3. Frequencies that feed on silence. You are Helena Duarte, a freelance reporter who once believed that every mystery unraveled under the patience of daylight and ink. The Jornal do Brasil wouldn't he hire you full-time too young, they said. But the dead men beneath their lead visors have carved a vacancy only you dare fill. The editors want sensational headlines. You want the marrow of the real story. August 24th, 1966, 8:17. Your train rattles across the bridge from Rio to Niterói. The bay below glints like a cracked mirror. Gulls wheel overhead in jittery loops, as though disturbed by some infrasonic siren. You flip through your notebook. Quotes from witnesses crumble into clichés the moment you reread them. Bright light, odd smell, voices from nowhere until one entry stops your pen. Static so loud it turned the air solid. Dona Lucia, shortwave, hobbyist, deceased. Lucia's autopsy report is thin. Heart failure. Unexplained dermal radiation burns on the palms. You underline radiation 3 times. Sketch a quick diagram of concentric circles and echo of the lesions carved into the technicians. Hearts. Patterns breed patterns. Stories breed hunger. At Niterói Central Station, a payphone near track 3 begins ringing before you even drop your suitcase. No one else turns. You lift the receiver, half expecting a prank. Instead, a male voice whispers your name backwards, Anelli, followed by a burst of numbers, 302, 302, 302, then a click like a microphone hitting concrete. You slam the phone down, pulse racing, and glance at the nearest clock. 8:22. Time has barely moved, yet you feel as if something irreversible just synchronized with your heartbeat. You catch a taxi to Inspector Freitas's precinct. The corridors hum with fluorescent insistence. Every desk radio sits unplugged, antennas dismantled. Freitas greets you with sleeves rolled, eyes rimmed red, a coffee stain blooming across yesterday's report. He doesn't bother with pleasantries. I know why you're here, he says. But if you print everything, you'll feed the hysteria already crawling through our wiring. You tap your pen. People deserve truth. Frida's exhales smoke through his nose. Truth, Miss Duarte, is now a transmitter. It carries a cost you can't calculate. He slides a manila folder across the desk. Inside, Polaroids of additional footprints found on Morro do Vintém, child-sized, female, barefoot, skin prints scorched into soil as if the ground itself were a negative plate exposed to sudden light. Beneath each photo is a timestamp, 16:30, las 4:30 de la tarde, las 4:30 de la tarde. Different days. Identical mine. Freitas's voice softens. We're dealing with an event on a timetable. If that schedule widens, every radio tower from Santa Cruz to Snowgoncalo could become a mouth. You remember the payphone voice. You shiver, so you need help quieting the static. He almost smiles. I need someone who can hear what the static wants. That night you accompany Freitas to the technician's workshop, now sealed under police order. The key turns, the rolling shutter groans upward, and a wave of ozone greets you like breath from an open furnace. Rows of gutted radios line the walls. Wires dangle like dissected veins. On the central bench sits their last project, the vacuum transmitter. Though unplugged, it pulses faint light through dust-coated valves, live the way corpses. Sometimes Twitch post-mortem. Fritus mutters a prayer. You click your recorder on. Instantly the device shudders, magnetic tape snarled by an unseen hand. Your ears pop, as if air pressure inside the shop has deepened. Then, across the room, a cathode ray television crackles to life green haze. Vertical lines, no power cord attached. On screen, two silhouettes glide into view, figures wearing lead masks, eye slits glowing white. They turn toward the camera toward you and lift their visors. Where faces should be, only radiance burns, too bright to process. An electromagnetic howl pours from the speaker, bending screws from wooden beams, shattering light bulbs in popgun succession. You stumble back. Fritus grabs your shoulders, shouting unheard commands over the din. A final yelp, a child's voice, terrified, ripples through the howl, and then everything goes black. When the fluorescents stutter on again, the TV screen is spiderwebbed with cracks. Its glass curved inward as though something tried to exit into the room. Fritus stuffs the transmitter into a lead-lined evidence case. We're closing this place tonight. He hands you a cloth-wrapped object. Inside, a freshly cast lead visor, lighter than the originals but heavy with dread. If you insist on chasing the light, he says, wear the mask before it finds your eyes. 2 days later, the city begins to stutter. Streetlights wink Morse code during daylight hours. Hospital ventilators hiccup in unison, dropping patients' oxygen levels exactly at 1630 before normalizing. In a school auditorium, a science fair transistor radio bursts into flames seconds after broadcasting. 302, 302, 302. 7 students suffer corneal burns from an unseen flash. Editorial meetings devolve into arguments over headlines that oscillate between UFO posse and government cover-up. Your editor calls you thrice, demanding copy. You delete every draft. The story keeps rewriting itself beneath your fingertips. Letters rearranging into numeric strings. That evening, thunderheads coil above Morro do Vintém like stacked vinyl records. You stand at the base, lead visor strapped tight, recorder loaded with fresh tape. Fritus meets you carrying the transmitter and a Geiger counter rigged to an external battery pack. Wind rakes the trees, leaves swivel underside out, silver flashing like Morse code. Protective capsules, he asks. You shake your head. I'm here to observe, not to cross. He nods, but pockets 2 charcoal tablets, just in case. The path winds upward. At exactly 1629, the counter needle slams into max, then dies to 0. You and exchange a look of resigned terror and step into the clearing where Miguel and Mano parted the veil. The earth here seems concave, as if the hills surrendered a shallow bowl to something weightless yet immense. Fritus sets the transmitter down. Tubes ignite by themselves, no switch flipped. A tone rises low, infinite, almost compassionate. The lead in your visor vibrates, casting metallic taste across your tongue. Fritus whispers, listen. Within the tone you discern layers, distant screams, laughter sped to chipmunk pitch. And beneath it all, a slow heartbeat, no, not 1, but 2, syncopated, matching the lesions on the technicians' chests. The sphere appears irresolute, the sun's negative hovering 3 meters above ground. You fight the instinct to recoil. Instead, you step forward, visor down. Light cascades off the lead like rain off wax. In the sphere's core, shapes flicker. Children, women, men, faces rearranging like shuffled decks. They raise their hands, palms branded with circles. A child's mouth opens and emits your name backward. Anele, the syllable pulls. Tears from your ducts. Grief bores into you for reasons beyond memory. You taste salt, hear sirens from decades unseen, feel your mother's hand the moment she died. Fridas calls your name. You can't answer. The sphere has expanded, a halo encircling the transmitter. Suddenly, every vacuum tube ejects itself, glass exploding outward. Shards ricochet off your visor. Fridas shields his face. Tubes twist mid-air, fuse into a helix, then vanish with a clap of thunder that never echoes. The night returns in a heartbeat. The clearing reeks of scorched grass and burnt marrow. Fridas kneels, vomiting bile. His lead visor hangs cracked, eyes weeping blood. You drag him to the footpath as crickets resume their song pitch-shifted 10. Semitones too low, back at his sedan. The dashboard clock blinks 17:10. Ambulance sirens wail distant, but nearing. Fridas seizes your wrist. The light, it's not done, he rasps. It's programming us. Each witness becomes another. Transmitter. You look at your tape recorder. The wheels spin, though the device is off. Through the speaker leaks. A tiny voice confirms success. You flip the recorder open, no tape inside. Wind rattles the lead visors in the trunk. Overhead power lines hum in 3-beat cadence. 302, 302, 302. A schedule, an invitation, a heartbeat. The hill will call again tomorrow, and the next day, until every frequency in Brazil harmonizes at 1630, and every unprotected eye turns skyward. You check your penlight. Its beam pulses, not white, but ultraviolet, strobing an afterimage of your own skeleton across the windshield. You exhale, clouding the glass, and in the fog write 2 words before they fade. Real Dihapter 4. The day the power listened. Dawn bleeds gray over Guanabara Bay. You are Inspector. Fridas again, bandaged eyes peering from behind smoked glass. Goggles because normal light now feels like razors. Doctors call it photokeratis. You call it the tax for staring too long into the unknown. Helena sits beside your hospital bed, dictating details into her notebook, refusing to leave until the world quiets. The world, however, is only getting louder. City engineers report a surge rolling through the electrical grid each afternoon at 1630. Sharp and impossible spike that trips breakers in perfect waves from the coast inland. They nickname it a pulse, but you know it as a heartbeat. Yesterday the pulse blacked out the ferry's mid-crossing. Passengers swear they heard chanting from the loudspeakers, though every system was dead. One sailor leaped overboard, claiming the bay was turning into glass. His body has not surfaced. Your superiors order silence, blame it on faulty infrastructure. But every halted elevator, every popped transformer, every neon sign that flickers with those 3 hateful digits 302 adds, wait to the case file nobody will read until it's far too late. At noon, Father Joaquim Sorestchaplan of the João Batista Cemetery requests an audience. He brings a scorched fragment of altar cloth and eyes rimmed with the same ultraviolet tears you shed on the hill. There is an intelligence in that light, he whispers. Last night our church bells rang at exactly 1630. No wind, no sexton. The ropes moved by themselves. Helena raises an eyebrow. You think it's demonic? Demonic. Angelic. Both. We lack the hierarchy to label it. Joaquin replies, but I've felt exorcisms easier than this silence you describe. He removes a rosary whose beads are blackened, as if wreathed in flame. When the pulse hit, every metal object on my body grew hot enough to brand my skin. Only lead remained cool. Helena shares a glance with you. The lead visors sit locked away in evidence, humming like distant generators you sometimes hear in dreams. Then we go back, she says. August 29th, 1966. 1547. You, Helena, and Father Joaquim step from a muddy government Land Rover at the base of Morro do Vintém. Joaquim carries a thurible swinging thick clouds of frankincense. Helena wears her visor. You wear smoked surgical lenses beneath a police riot helmet lined with foil. Improvised faith meets improvised science. Partway up the trail, the air changes ionized metallic, buzzing your fillings. Branches stand rigid, regardless of wind, leaves quivering as though listening. The Geiger counter, rewired to self-power, flares to max, then falls silent. Needle glass shatters inward, tiny shards drifting upward, defying gravity before crumbling to dust. At 1628, you reach the clearing. Father Joachim plants a crucifix. In the soil, the wood hisses like dropped dry ice. He begins reciting Psalm 91, voice steady. Helena sets a reel-to-reel recorder inside a lead ammunition box wired as a Faraday cage. You count seconds by heartbeats her own arrhythmic. The hillside steady as a pendulum. 16:30. The sun decapitates itself, sky turning black in a circular patch directly overhead. Stars winking at daytime citizens, now kneeling in streets. Miles away. From the void descends the sphere, brighter, louder, layered in oscillating hexagons like an insect's eye. The pulse slams through your bones. The crucifix bursts into white flame without consuming wood, burning cold. Hello. Visor vibrates. She gasps as symbols, blueprints, constellations scroll across the inner surface, readable only to her. Father Joachim's chant falters. The Latin vowels stretch until they resemble signal tones flanging through cathedral speakers. The sphere speaks not with sound, but with absolute certainty inside your skull. Protective capsules. You snap open your jacket pocket, where 2 charcoal tablets rattle. Hand trembling, you toss one toward Joachim. He hesitates, then presses it too. His tongue. Helena refuses, whispering observation. Remember. Her words echo thrice, each copy higher pitched, as if the air itself is repeating them back with interest. Light pours in filaments, caressing the Faraday box. Metal latches glow orange, then melt like wax, revealing the reel spinning faster than designed. Tape winds, threads snapping, magnetic coating peeling off, rising upward into the sphere like ash in reverse. Suddenly, bodies bloom in the light, dozens, maybe hundreds each, wearing a lead visor. Some are children, some elderly, all floating serenely. Their hands bear the concentric heart brands. They open palms toward Helena, beckoning. Behind them, Miguel and Manuel drift into view, faces peaceful, eyes forever shielded. Miguel mouths a single syllable. Confirm. Helena steps forward. Father Joachim lunges, thurible swinging. Embers streak through the air, forming fiery sigils that crackle violet against the sphere's surface. The floating congregation recoils. The light dims a fraction, emitting a hiss like steam under pressure. You seize Helena's arm, yank her back. The visor slips, exposing one naked eye to the glare, a pinpoint of white imbids in her iris. She screams not in pain, but in furious wonder, describing vistas beyond comprehension. Cities made of frequency, seas of frozen lightning, endless corridors of names. Blood tears streak down her cheek. You shove your own helmet forward, blocking her view. Your corneas blister, but hold. Father Joachim slams the crucifix into the ground a second time, shouting in Nomen Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. The cold flames spiral, coalescing into a ring that slices upward, severing a tendril of light. The sphere shudders, translucency rippling. Every floating figure drops 1 meter, expressions twisting in sudden confusion. First hint of vulnerability you've seen. Helena, half blinded, gropes for her visor and snaps it shut. The pinpoint glow in her iris fades to ember red. She yells, "Record this." But the recorder is gone, its shredded tape now swirling like plasmid DNA. Inside the light. 1631. 1 minute past schedule. For the first time the sphere wavers in place, uncertain. You feel its attention shift, tasting copper on your tongue, hearing your childhood name whispered by your late mother. Father Joachim thrusts the thurible again. Incense plumes morph into winged shapes that dive-bomb the sphere, each impact blooming ultraviolet sparks. With an ear-splitting thunk, The light collapses into a fist-sized orb and rockets heavenward, ripping tree limbs into splinters as it goes. The forest inhales, then exhales storm force wind that flattens you all to the dirt. Silence follows real, natural insect. Silence. Helena sobs, visor clattering off. Her uninjured eye focuses on you with wild relief. Father Joaquin kneels trembling, rosary beads fused to blistered fingertips. But alive. You retrieve the melted Faraday box, useless weight now. Yet, deep inside, lies a single curl of intact tape, maybe 10 seconds long. Helena pockets it. Proof, she rasps. Back down the hillside, the Land Rover radio crackles no static. Just the sweet, mundane chatter of coastal weather reports. You glance at the dashboard clock. 17:10 again. Always 17:10. Helena buckles in, eyes distant. We interrupted the liturgy, she says. Not ended it. The tape scrap rides between her fingers like a living worm, emitting a faint electronic cry 302 302 302B for falling silent. Father Joaquin crosses himself, gaze locked on the hilltop where clouds are already knitting a new dark circle. Tomorrow, he murmurs, they will sing a higher note. That night downtown, fluorescent advertisements across Avenida Puxoto illuminate simultaneously at 2:02, spelling out in blocky glitches a sentence the city will photograph but never agree existed. Second signal accepted. Confirmed success. Pickpockets on the late shift flee, swearing they saw every mannequin in nearby shop windows tilt their heads to the sky. You phone the power company. They deny any anomaly. Newspapers run with a different story. Mystery blackout averted by quick-thinking police. Your name is absent. Helena's article, neutered by editors, unsure of liability, becomes a sidebar footnote. But under the newsroom hum, she splices the surviving tape and plays it on a portable unit. 10 seconds of audio, a heartbeat, a child's giggle, a roar of distant surf. Then Fright is his own voice, whispering a phrase he never said aloud. We are all transmitters now. Helena looks up, stricken. You're in their recording, she whispers, which means they can play you back. You feel the lesion burn beneath your sternum, 2 circles, overlapping like a binary eclipse. Beneath the gauze, skin raises into the pattern, pulsing each second closer to tomorrow's appointment with light. Outside, streetlights buzz. Somewhere, vacuum tubes warm. And in countless living rooms across Niterói, televisions click on without invitation, channels locked to pure, waiting white. Chapter 5. When Wires Learned to Dream. You are Helena Duarte again, 2 days after the second confrontation. Your right eye pierced by the pin light radiates dull heat, iris patterned now with faint concentric rings only you can see in mirrors. Doctors call it a rare form of photic injury. You know it is a window, one the sphere has cracked but not yet opened. August 31st, September 2nd, 1966, becomes sleepless blur. Niterói's nights throb with irregular outages. Street lamps flick off on in heartbeat triplets. Apartment buzzers shriek. Phantom visitors at 16:30 and 2:02. The newspaper prints public service lives transformer fatigue. Power grid harmonics. But citizens whisper a better name. Allah's Q, come. Pharaoh's the light that eats metal. You and Inspector Freitas barricade yourselves inside a decommissioned submarine cable station on the bay's edge, chosen for its thick, Faraday-proofed walls. Father Joaquin joins, forearms blister-scarred yet resolute, calling the trio the last low-frequency clergy. On workbenches, you've assembled countermeasures. A bank of lead-lined car batteries wired through military capacitors. Your attempt to ground a lightning you barely comprehend. 7 new visors, cut thinner for mobility, yet broad enough to shield peripheral retina. A hastily coded electromechanical timer that will short the building's main breaker at 16 hours, 29 minutes, and 55 seconds daily, plunging all circuits to silence 5 seconds before the sphere's pulse. You pray a black room offers no channel to possess. Electricity, after all, is the language of its call. September 3rd, 1966, 1625. The timer's red diode begins a slow strobe. Father Joachim recites Psalm 27 under his breath. Freitas checks his gauze-wrapped eyes, double-knotting the visor. You train a 16mm camera on the central breaker panel, film loaded. Spring wound, mechanical memory, immune to electromagnetism, you hope. The diode climbs to rapid blink. 16 hours, 29 minutes, and 55 seconds. Click. The station dives into pitch. Fans choke, fluorescent. Ballast coughs once, then dies. Even the bay beyond the windows seems to hush. You count inside your skull. 1, 2, 3. At 5, the world outside detonates in silver. Light, unable to permeate the blackout walls, seeps through the narrow ventilation grates like liquid mercury. Every metal screw glows white-hot outlines, sketching the room. In negative, the Faraday mesh crackles, lead batteries sizzling as current reroutes around them. Your teeth chattered, literally vibrating, as fillings resonate with an unheard chord. Freitas shouts, "Capsules." Over the roar you see him swallow charcoal tablet two-fingered. You hesitate to remember your vow of observation. The choice costs you. A lance of blinding radiance punctures the visor slit, finds your altered iris, and floods your optic nerve with a film reel of impossible images. Vast engines, orbiting a dark star, grinding reality to powder and recasting it as data. Mountains of discarded televisions chanting in Morse. Legions of masked children building antennae from their own bones. A city made entirely of ringing telephones, each receiver lifting by itself at once. Reciting your notebook entries backwards. The vision snaps like overtight tape. You collapse, dry heaving, ears bleeding, pink foam. Father Joachim drags you behind a steel desk moments before the Faraday screen above shreds outward in a shower of liquid sparks. Through the ragged gap, a sphere half the room's width presses, against the barrier unable to enter, but compressing space so the wall bows inward like rubber. Hexagonal facets ripple across its surface. Within each cell, you glimpse eyes peering, searching, replaying your memories. An arm forms arm, it can be called, braided. Filaments of white noise twisting into a claw of pure signal. It probes through the hole, faculty lights strobing as it brushes grounded steel and recoils. The claw repeats, each stab wiser, adjusting frequency to penetrate grounding. Joists groan. Lead batteries pop acid steam. Freitas lurches forward, riot baton wrapped in copper wire and crucifix chain. He plunges the baton straight into the claw. A shriek, part radio squelch, part infant cry shreds the air. The claw disbands into pixel confetti, sucked back beyond the wall. The sphere pulses black, dims, then explodes upward through the ceiling. Iron girders bending as effortlessly as reeds. The timer's diode, somehow still functional, flips green. Grid power surges back, flooding halogen emergency lamps. You lie gasping, body vibrating with afterimages. Freitas's bandages smoke gently, his visor's inner surface etched with a fresh concentric burn. Father Joachim, trembling, lifts a Geiger counter needle pinned right then, free falls to 0. Radiation of unknown register. Here, then gone. The 16mm camera. Lens cracked. Film spool melted, but one frame sticks to the take-up reel unburnt. A perfect silhouette of the claw. Mid-rich facets, reflecting your faces. Proof enough to ruin the sanity of any audience. That night you stagger into an underground ham radio club hidden beneath a bakery on Rua de Kanseku, seeking allies. 12 hobbyists sit hunched over glowing panels, headphones clamped, scribbling, feverishly. Every set blares the same sequence. 3 ascending tones, pause, to descending repeat. Superimposed is a child's voice, counting 8 des in Portuguese, but time-stamped 1 second ahead of real clock. The signal is predicting future seconds. When the count reaches des, each radio spits a final digital click confirmed success then. Fries, smoke curling from dials. Hobbyists curse, slap ear cups away, but no one leaves. They reload spare valves, desperate to hear the next message. In their glazed eyes you recognize what the light implants. Curiosity sharpened into compulsion. You and Freitas exchange a wordless decision. This basement must stay dark tomorrow. But the city above breeds new terminals hourly, transistorized toys powering on without batteries. Elevator cables plucking themselves like harps, traffic lights, blinking verses from Revelation. Each device offers 1,000 tiny windows for the sphere to watch, to learn, to enlarge its choir. September 5th to 2nd 2. A hospital maternity ward loses power. When lights restore, every newborn lies silent, staring unblinking at ceiling vents. Nurses later record identical EKG anomalies, heartbeats fused into double peaks, 2 pulses, interlaced, echo of twin lesions. September 6th to 16th, 30. Ferry horns blast across empty bay, although tied fast to docks. Their echoes shape long-range acoustic shadows over Rio, where seismographs register microquakes, matching the frequency of 302 Hz. Satellite dishes at Pico do Cauto pivot from star tracking to point directly at Morro do Vintém without command. Government. High Command orders a perimeter, brands the hill a military exclusion zone. Yet each evening more civilians climb, drawn by static dreams. Patrols return describing crowds of sleepwalkers frozen along the slope, faces upturned, mouths open, as if tasting rain, but no precipitation falls within 1 kilometer of the epicenter. Your hospital issue retina burns each time you near the hill. The pinlight has grown larger, now a swirling galaxy inside your eye, spinning faster when the pulse approaches. Sometimes you close the good eye and see through the Burnsea radio towers sprouting bone and sinew. See phone lines twine into braids of hair. See the city itself rewiring to cradle a birth. Freitas says it plainly over bitter coffee. We are out of time. The light is gestating. Tomorrow's pulse won't ask for masks. Will be the mask, dropped over the city like a lid. He slides you a folded map. Circles mark every substation, broadcast antenna, naval radar within 30 kilometers. At 16:30 we pull the cables, all at once. Total blackout. Only chance. Father Joachim nods, though dread warps his smile. Let the darkness be our shield, as in Exodus. He pockets a pocket-sized lead cross, electrodes soldered to arms. We shall crucify the current. You swallow fear like another bitter capsule. Outside, steel-gray dawn edges Morro, Duvin. Clouds churn in rings, their undersides etched with faint glowing hexagons, predicting noon storms that meteorologists will never record. Birds refuse the sky. Dogs howl and bury their faces under porches. Somewhere inside your skull, static coils, promising revelation. You remember Miguel's serene smile, the child silhouettes within the facets, the beckoning palms. You wonder if resistance is heroism or hubris, if the light's melody is an invasion or an invitation. Humanity has waited centuries to accept, yet the claw's shriek still rattles your bones. The lesions over your heart tingle like twin tuning forks, vibrating stronger with each approaching quarter hour. They do not hurt, but they anticipate. You lace your boots, strap the visor, pocket wire cutters, and final charcoal tablet. Today, either light or darkness will claim Niterói's grid, and whichever wins will broadcast tomorrow's gospel into all who remain. Chapter 6. The night the grid went dark. September 7th, 1966, 4:12. Rain drills the corrugated roof of the cable station like a million needles, each drop charging the air with static, tiny but eager. You, Inspector Octavio Freitas, pace between maps tacked to walls. Pink thumbtacks marking every transformer, relay, and microwave tower that threads power and signal through Niteroi veins you plan to sever in one simultaneous stroke. Helena hunches over a battered Remington typewriter, tapping coded instructions to the 26 volunteers crazy enough to help. Ex-leanmen, hum radio, renegades, one disgraced naval electrician whose resume includes accidental frigate blackout. Father Joachim prays softly while soldering copper to his lead cross, fashioning it into a dead man switch wired to the municipal grid's main bus. By dawn the plan is gospel. 15 to 55. Teams fan across the city, each armed with bolt cutters and homemade EMP grenades, camera flash capacitors packed into soup cans. 16 hours 29 minutes and 30 seconds on a coded whistle blast. Every team kills its node. 16 hours 29 minutes and 55 seconds. Father Joachim pulls the crucifix switch at the central substation, short-circuiting the remainder, like Moses parting copper seas. Hold the dark until 17 o'clock long enough. They pray to starve the sphere of its favorite nutrition, amplified current. The risk, unshielded hospitals, traffic chaos, and the unknown, tantrum of a starving light. 1532. Clouds stack in concentric rings above Morro, Vintém thunderheads pulsing with interior strobes that match the grid's heartbeat. 300 Hz audible, only 2 dental fillings, and terrified imaginations. Helena's altered iris spins faster each minute. She wraps an elastic eye patch over it, quoting Odysseus, steering past the sirens. You swallow another charcoal tablet, bitter chalk, washing the taste of copper from your gums. Radios chirp, all teams in position. A hush blankets avenues, usually choking with honking combis. Citizens, lulled by 3 weeks of escalating glitches, have barricaded indoors, candles and transistor sets at the ready. They have no idea the next hour will choose between blackout and blinding revelation. 1555. You issue the first. Code wall escuridão. Switches clunk across the city. Minor substations disconnect, though main traffic lights still glow red, yellow, green. The sphere notices. Power line hum deepens. Lamps flicker, protest. At 1620, a low fog snakes through streets, hugging curbs, climbing facets and emerald glow within. The fog is data, you realize, airborne charge mapping, every copper terminus. It slithers beneath doorways, probes fuse boxers, tastes breaker panels with ionic tongues. Father Joachim radios. The serpent is counting our candles. 1624. 2 volunteers at the Santa Rosa relay post report, the fog condensing into child-sized silhouettes tapping on their visors, begging entry. Transmission ends in a hiss and a throat-tearing scream. Map pin Santa Rosa, now a black X.U, grip the mic. Hold positions. 5 minutes. Voice steadier than pulse. 16 hours, 29 minutes, and 0 seconds. You, Helena, and Joachim stand in the main yard of Subastica's central monolithic transformers, jutting like steel sarcophagi. Overhead, cables vibrate cymbalom cords, sparks arcing between insulators. You've pre-drenched the yard with salt water to aid the short. Boots splash as you cross to the master breaker the size of a tombstone. Helena counts aloud. 20, 19. Around you the city's sounds distill into one omnidirectional breath. At 5 seconds, Joachim kisses the lead crucifix and slams it into the bus. A sun-white arc erupts, blinds through visors. Every mercury lamp in view detonates with glass. Snowfall, transformers wail, a mechanical death rattle, then silence. For the first time since August, Niteroi is electrically dead. Helena's pocket stopwatch ticks acoustically loud in the vacuum. 30 seconds, she whispers. But the quiet lives only an instant. From Morro to Vintém erupts a column of brilliance, taller than any radio mast. Yet this time, the light chooses flesh for filament. Powerless street radios spring to life. On battery ghosts, broadcasting choruses of children singing the Portuguese alphabet backward. The fog surges downtown, neon green, intensifying until it molds into thousands of crystalline tendrils, stabbing at darkened wires, like addicts denied fix. Without copper, the sphere drinks carbon. Telephone poles ignite, their creosote hearts, geysering violet flame, asphalt steams. Human hair stands on end, exhaling ozone threads visible in gloom. The entire population has become antennae. Helena doubles over the galaxy in her injured eye blazing white. Through clenched teeth, she snarls. It's rerouting through us. She rips off the eye patch. The pin light projects a spear of luminance 30 meters, carving glowing glyphs in substation. While engineering diagrams of neuroscientific synapses labeled with Miguel's scrawled handwriting, proof the technicians had always been prototype. Circuit boards. You drag Helena behind a transformer husk. We starve it longer, you shout. Though the roar of burning poles mocks the plan, Joaquim kneels in salt water, begins the Lord's Prayer. His crucifix switch, still jam-welded, sizzles as fog tendrils lash it, seeking reconnection. He shouts final Latin lines and drives his bare palm onto the copper lug human fuse. Current starved elsewhere, finds the priest and surges. For a heartbeat, his eyes turn searchlight white. He smiles serene as Miguel's corpse photo, then body convulses, smoke rising. Tendrils recoil, repelled by charred sanctity. Grid remains dead. 1634. The sphere condenses above the bay. Radius half-kilometer, scooping seawater into spinning halos, generating its own energy via electrolysis, salt to plasma. The blackout has slowed, but not halted gestation. From its underside rain cascades upward, defying gravity, feeding the light like intravenous drip. You realize electricity was never its only meal. Any charged particle suffices. The fog retracts from streets, streaks bayward in luminous rivers, leaving citizens collapsed, but breathing. Helena wipes blood tears. Voice hoarse. If it plugs into ions, we cut those too. We give it still air. How? Turn the city into a Faraday cage. Impossible. But maybe not the city, maybe the hill. An idea strikes. The abandoned World War II Zeppelin mooring cables stored near the naval shipyard, kilometers of thick aluminum braid. Wrap the hill in a grounded net. Sink the other end into Guanabara mud flats. Bleed its charge to ocean depth. A giant lead mask for the mountain. You radio surviving teams. Only 9 respond, but 9 is enough to steal trucks, lash spools of cable, and race toward Morro do Vintém's switchback roads. The sphere, momentarily satiated, hovers stationary, casting white night over bay. From its core descends a staircase of photonegative light. On it walk silhouettes, dozens, stepping onto water as if onto marble. They advance toward the shore, where crowds gather hypnotized. Among silhouettes you spot a small figure, the stray dog that once growled, eyes glowing, tail whipping electricity. The procession is an embassy, harbinger of permanent contact. You've minutes before the landing. 1702, convoy reaches hill base. You, Helena, 5 volunteers, coil cable, scale trees, drive pitons into bedrock. Each hammer blow punctuates the chanting wind. Helena's altered eye pinpoints where tendrils will probe next. She yells coordinates. You anchor loops like satanic Christmas garland. From bay below, specters approach streets. People kneel welcoming. Father Joaquim's burnt crucifix still grips the main bus, body unremoved. His sacrifice buys time. But the sphere notices severed feast, turns facetized too. Hill once more. Beam of light lances uphill, shears pine trunks, strikes cable net, now half complete. Aluminum glows, but ground rods spew fountains of blue lightning into marsh. The hill groans yet holds. Helena screams pinlight now, floodlamp, Morse onto clouds. SOS inverted. The sphere replies with tone matching her heartbeat. trying to sink. She collapses, veins tracing luminous circuitry beneath skin. You clip final splice, slam grounding rod deep into a mire of salt water and rusted ship anchors. The cable web snaps taut, a metallic cocoon shimmering dull silver. The sphere's beam spreads across mesh, searching seams, but each touch bleeds charge into earth, glow dimming incrementally. Water around anchors boils, releasing clouds of chlorine steam down shore. Spectre delegation flickers, their outlines losing cohesion, bodies fragmenting into code flakes riding sea breezes back toward parent light. Crowd stirs from trance, some screaming, some weeping. The sphere shrinks half, quarter, fist as energy siphons. It rises, desperate to higher air rich with ions, but cables now arc like lariat, magnetic pole rooting it. Its facets spin faster, strobing images too quick. Miguel and Manuel on hillside, unknown galaxies, your mother singing lullaby. Billions of radios turning in unison, then a final still frame your own face, scorched by revelation, before light implodes with silent flash. No thunder follows, only the hiss of cooling aluminum and the distant car alarms discovering electricity's return. Hilltop darkness feels thick as fur. You yank off visor, stars above shimmer, undisturbed. Net droops, smoke wafts skyward in lazy strands. Air tastes like burnt sugar and sacramental wine. Helena blinks weakly, eye galaxy fading to coal spark. Is it gone? She asks. You don't answer, you listen. Far below, a transistor radio crackles once then dies. A good sign or the calm between pulses. Volunteers cheer, but fear dims enthusiasm. They know the grid will power up. They know new static may follow. Yet tonight, at least, Morro du Vintém wears its lead mask. Epilogue of the night. Emergency crews flood city with diesel generators. Journalists print hero headlines, blackout stops, mystery surge. Helena's full article is censored. Editor adds addendum. Reports of lights in sky remain unverified. No fatalities recorded besides accidental electrocution of local priest. But rumor spreads. Children born during blackout bear faint concentric birthmarks over hearts. You stand at Joe Batista Cemetery, watching gravediggers lower Joaquim's shrouded form. His crucifix, fused to bus copper, could not be retrieved. He is buried visorless, eyes closed in peace, as coffin settles. Your chest lesions glow once brief ember, inside cloth, then quiet. You inhale, expecting static, silence. For now, Helena takes your hand. We still have the real story, she whispers. Inside her coat pocket, the mangled 16mm strip holds a single claw frame, forever reaching. Proof, yes, but also lockpick. You both know curiosity will strike again here, or another city wired for wonder. The lead masks wait in evidence, patient as tombs. And tomorrow at 2:02, some forgotten radio will likely sputter, 3 familiar digits 300, 2 testing the circuit, asking if anyone still listens. You return a bittersweet smile, eyes aching yet clear. Next time, you say, we'll cut the wires sooner. Above you, streetlights flicker once, then steady. Somewhere, a newborn cries on the first intake of earthly air. Heart beating in Twin Peaks, and the hill sleeps until someone dares wake it. Chapter 7, Echoes in the Light Line. Dawn. September 8th, September 15th, 1966. 1 week of uneasy quiet stretches across Niterói, the city still nursing candle stubs and generator fumes. Newspapers hail, hill-wrapped. Phenomenon halted, but the headline ink dries over streets, too afraid to cheer. Children keep waking at 2:02 sharp, crying that the masks walk past their windows. Dogs bark, toward Morro du Vintém, hackles erect, then cower beneath tables until sunrise. Power line crews repairing blown transformers speak of tools, vibrating from their hands whenever a cloud shadow crosses the sun. You are Helena Duarte patched. Voice hoarse, but ribs buzzing with survivor's resolve. Each dawn you hike the perimeter fence, freshly erected by military engineers around the cocooned hill. The aluminum net sags but holds. Puddles at anchor points fizz like tonic where residual current bleeds. A single warning sign hangs every 50 meters perigo. Radiation, electroshock. Yet candles, flowers, and crude tinfoil masks appear daily at the fence line, offerings from citizens who have to worship the light that almost consumed them. Inside the fortified cable station, you've heard us, and the surviving volunteers piece together data from a crash cart of scavenged oscilloscopes and typewriters. Father Joachim's sacrifice bought days, maybe weeks. But the sphere's hunger proved adaptable, moving from copper to ions to living synapses. The question now, will it stay dormant or will it molt? Freitas, his bandaged eyes hidden behind polarized aviators, sketches elaborate flowcharts, sphere charge source greater than expansion, delegation greater than full manifestation. He circles expansion in red grease pencil. We cut copper. It took ions. We drained ions. It siphoned bioelectric. He wraps the paper. Next escalation will skip mediums entirely. Direct psychic broadcast. Minds as wires. You swallow? Imagining a choir of half-dreaming citizens humming 302, 302, 302 until sanity cracks. Evidence surfaces fast. September 9th, 9:14. A kindergarten class begins reciting prime numbers in perfect unison. Voices rising 3 octaves above. Natural range. Until every child collapses with nosebleeds. September 10th, 16:30. ICU heart monitors across City Hospital triple pace, despite patients sedated. 2 flatliners jolt upright, whisper confirm success, then perish again. September 11th, 1710, the city's civil defense sirens wail without power, pitching tones that form concentric interference patterns, visible as shimmering rings in humid air, sound made shape. An acoustician marvels before quitting his post. Freitas proposes an audacious answer, a second mask not for the hill, but for the population. We shield their minds, he says, dragging chalk across vault walls turned blackboard. White noise generators, lead filament headphones, citywide. Volunteers balk resources, scarce government, uninterested in quashing a phenomenon. Many consider spiritual. Helena counters. Then we seed doubt, break the liturgy. If belief feeds the transmission, skepticism starves it. A plan hybridizes Project Blindfold. Distribute hundreds of cheap transistor radios set to an engineered anti-signal, chaotic frequency mix that jams the pulse. Publish articles reframing the hill as industrial contamination, not miracle. Dampening public AW. Stage nightly public static concerts, where volunteer bands blast discordant feedback. Flooding streets with randomized sound meant to drown organized whispers. You leverage contacts bootleg record presses. Student protesters adept at speaker hacking, and by September 12th static concerts echo in plazas. Guitars tuned to impossible. Intervals shriek above drums like collapsing iron foundries. Crowds gather, at first hostile, then curious, then delighted to dance away fear. Children chant nonsense lyrics louder than the pulse. The hill responds on September 13, a column of green-blue aurora ropes skyward from Morro du Vintém, but halts at the aluminum net, fracturing into hissing filaments that fizzle out long meters. Above rooftops, radios cough fragments, mask, light, confirm, but anti-signal overpowers, reducing them to slush. Success feels near until September 14th, 2:02. The anti-signal transmitters explode simultaneously. Tiny capacitors pulp by surge. CCTV later reveals each device levitated moments before detonation, as though dissected by invisible surgeons searching for a weakness. Worse, Your patched eye awakens you with blistering pain. In its bandaged dark, a film plays, Father Joachim, walking through the wire net, untouched, eyes luminous. He digs bare hands into soil, unearthing a lead visor, lifts it skyward. Light returns not sphere, but lattice of faint hexagons across night clouds, pulsing like a cicada brood, ready to hatch. You jerk awake, screaming. Frida's leaps from cat, adrenaline injecting. The dream subsides, but smell of ozone and incense fills bunk room though, all windows closed. Frida's grips your shoulders. It wants you back on the hill. Through him. He means walking dead, but perhaps assimilated. Fear twists, but purpose roots deeper. If contact is inevitable, you and Fridas must orchestrate terms, not surrender. September 15th, 13 o'clock. You convene a clandestine council inside the city's bomb shelter. Volunteers, radio hams, skeptics, drunks, a single defrocked bishop. Freitas unveils the Magnus Masca prototype helmet, welded from melted viscera of military radar dishes, layered over by salvaged lead, fitted with gyroscopes upon white noise coils. One wearer only. Helena objects first. Put me in, and it'll open like a door. Better Freitas, he already sees nothing. Freitas counters. I'm compromised. Lesions worsen. You're half-linked. Risk of assimilation huge. The room argues until power flickers, and the citywide tannoy never used since wartime booms. Please proceed to the light in 20 languages. Decision crystallizes. Both of you must go. One masked, one link-bait. Helena volunteers as bait. Freitas bans the Magnus mask. A final charcoal tablet shared in toast to uncertainty. Bishop offers last rites to living souls. You accept, half mocking, half desperate. 1540. Convoy roars toward Morro du Vintém. Cables crackling under tire chains. Volunteers man repurposed water cannon trucks. Tanks filled with slurry of magnetite and sea salt liquid. Faraday shot, planned to douse any emergent limbs. Air smells of metal. Autumn, though spring months away. At perimeter fence, makeshift shrines smolder. Votive candles spontaneously blow out as you pass. The net's anchor rods glow cherry, straining. You and Freitas step through a newly cut gate, boots sinking in magnetized mud. 1620. Fog exudes from seams in earth rather than descending sky. Hexagons shimmer underfoot, mapping your steps. Helm-masked, Freitas feeds white noise into ear cups. Inside helmet, he hears nothing but ocean static. You visorless, feel your patched eye throbbing, galaxy spiraling open like camera iris. Ahead, the net bulges outward, strands snapping with ping after ping, an egg tooth from within. Freitas signals water cannon. Volunteers hose shimmering. Arc of conductive slurry across breach. Steam erupts. Net repairs. But a human figure now stands just inside. Father Joachim, cassock charred, crucifix fused to chest. Smiling saint, he lifts empty hands. Fog hisses through him, shape half solid. Helena steps forward, tears burning. Padre. The apparition speaks, layered voices, child, choir, wind, protective capsules, final dose, welcome. Joachim extends luminous. Palm, your patched eyes sees deeper. Not flesh, but braided radio towers, rosary beads turned coax cables. Helena breathes once, then plants feet. I will not confirm, she says, voice trembling. Sphere flickers behind Joachim, facets open like insect wings, yet softer, coaxing. Light caresses your face, warm as baptism water. In swirl, you glimpse Miguel Manuel, sailors, kindergarten children, their expressions pleading rather than malicious. They want completion, release from half-state. Freitas's Magnus mask hums louder, white noise rising to hurricane inside helmet. He brandishes a handheld EMP grenade, final defense thumb, on cap. The sphere's voice. now unmistakably Joaquim's, and your mother's braided, whispers into every mind present. No invasion. Transmission home. Open, and we depart. 4. A heartbeat. Compassion floods you. Maybe the light is stranded, starving for broadcast range only human neural nets provide. Frida's yells through mask amplifier, trick, and hurls EMP at Joaquin's fear confluence. Time slows. Grenade arcs, field coils primed. Sphere facets, flash ultraviolet. Joaquin's form dissolves to pixel dust. Grenade passes through and detonates midair. A dome of violet shockwave races outward, ripping aluminum net into glitter, toppling pines. You and Fridas slammed back, eardrums rupture, rain of embers arcs overhead. Volunteers scream outside fence as breakers trip across city again. When dust clears, sphere hovers enormous, no longer white but obsidian, absorbing light. Within, its darkness, ghost images swirl, ruins of radios, shattered crucifix, your own shocked face, repeated kaleidoscope. It speaks once, vibrating marrow, confirmed success denied, full override commencing. Hexagon tiles peel from sphere, launch into sky like swarm drones, each zipping toward city sectors. You realize, those tiles are packets, each to seed new spheres. The Magnus masks white noise sputters, circuits fried by EMP backlash. Frida's Yank's helmet free eyes flash open, pupils serpentine, lesions pulsating. He inhales ragged. It rewrote my silence, he rasps. Helena, heart pounding, raises last magnetite hose, sprays direct stream into obsidian mass, blackened facets. Some dim, others feast on slurry electrolytes. Not enough. From smashed net coils dangle ends, still routed to ocean ground. Inspiration strikes. Connect hose nozzle to cable. Pump conductive slurry, directly into earthing rod turn. Ocean into space sink. Volunteers bolt, splicing duct tape, chanting improvised prayers. Within seconds, mud-colored torrent roars down. Cable leaps as lightning into sphere core dark mass, judders inner storm. Tiles still leaving, but slower. Some sputter mid-flight, dropping like molten hail. The sphere screams soundless, yet scalp dash peeling. Your patched eye splits bandage, glaring pin galaxy at sphere. Two beams, slurry lightning, and eye light cross. Streams, carving tunnel through darkness. At tunnel end, you see distant stars. A corridor of pure broadcast. Maybe exit home for stranded signal. Helena steps closer, arms wide, voice hoarse. Go. Leave our grid. Sphere hesitates, Fritas lurches, grabs your shoulder, mutters, opening a gate. They might flood bigger. But he relents, the lesions on his heart beating double. Perhaps aligning with home frequency. A final pull. Sphere implodes along the carved corridor, dragging remaining tiles into singular filament, stretching scored, threading through clouds until vanishing in stratospheric dusk. Echoing pop like cork leaves hill trembling. Silence reigns deeper than blackout womb still. You collapse. Volunteers rush. Drag survivors to ambulances waiting beyond fence. No radio crackle, no lamp flicker. City stands dark but intact. September 16, 1966. 6 o'clock. Sunrise bruises horizon. Power slowly restored, no surges, no fog. Hospital monitors steady. Children sleep peacefully. Seismographs flatline to normal tectonic murmurs. Military welders dismantle ragged net. Berry cable remains in concrete vault. Press allowed minimal. Footage. Experimental grid test concluded. Public yawns, returns to routine. Helena's eye slowly heals. Concentric rings fade to faint amber flecks. Freda's retina scars permanent, retires from police, moves inland. You both meet monthly, sharing thermoses of bitter coffee and long stares toward ordinary clouds. Yet some nights, at 1710 sharp, electrical appliances across your apartments tick faintly, as if imagining circuits once traveled. You unplug them, Smile, whisper thanks, that they merely remember rather than transmit. Still, in a government archive, lead masks rest behind triple locks. If you press ear to vault door, you might catch weak whisper binary pulses like heartbeats seeking return call. You step back, decide anonymity beats heroics, and walk into scorching Brazilian afternoon. Content the hill at last wears its silence well. But on distant shortwave bands, beyond ionosphere, astronomers detect new burst repeating every 27 hours. Confirm success? They shrugged, label it unexplained solar echo. Somewhere among those bursts, two technician souls perhaps finally found their broadcast line home, back on Earth. You breathe easy maskless under a sky that glows only with natural light. Chapter 8. Broadcast at the Edge of Silence, October 1, 1966, 007. 3 weeks have crawled past since the obsidian sphere unraveled above Morro, do Vintém, but insomnia still scribbles itself across the city's nights. Street cleaners swear they feel vibrations under the pavement, tiny Morse pulses, tapping soles of their boots. Car radios pick up phantom stations airing lullabies backward at quarter speed. And, most unnerving, every seventh sunset the clouds align in faint honeycomb shades before twilight swallows the pattern away. You are Inspector Freitas, half-retired, living in a rented cottage overlooking the bay. The lesions on your heart ache whenever the pulse would have struck, phantom pain from a ritual aborted but not erased. Helena visits daily, eye slowly healing, yet flashing amber, when lightning flickers beyond the horizon, lightning that never makes thunder. Both of you know the sphere is gone, but its echo remains, an electromagnetic imprint, etched into the ionosphere, like an aftermatch on a burned CRT. Helena has spent nights triangulating those sky echoes with the remaining ham radio volunteers. What she finds chills the marrow. The bursts no longer center on Morro, do Vintém. They now orbit, jumping every 27 hours to a new longitude, each jump preceded by a faint whisper, mask, confirm. It's as if the sphere became a traveling beacon, searching for a fresh host grid. On October 2nd, 1430, an urgent cable arrives from the Brazilian Air Force Communications Corps. Unidentified interference cripples radar at the Santa Cruz Air Base. Screens bloom with white hexagonal snow, obscuring all inbound flights. Controllers here. Children singing the NATO alphabet. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. In eerie harmony. Pilots divert to Galileo. No planes crash, but the military brands it potential. Hostile jamming. Freitas and Helena tuck lead visors into suitcases and board a government jeep towards Santa Cruz en route. The jeep's battery drains in seconds. Engine dies. Driver curses. You two hitch a ride on a produce truck, bouncing through sugarcane fields alive with static. Stalks crackle like burning paper, releasing ion sparks that pirouette above the crops before dissolving into air. In the base command bunker, radar screens pulse their destino. A brittle-voiced technician mutters that the interference breathes peaks and troughs match the average resting heart rate of a healthy adult. Helena studies a printout. The waveform indeed resembles an ECG. Your chest lesions throb in synchrony. Helena's patched eye throbs once, then projects a pinpoint of light onto the bunker ceiling, a tiny version of the honeycomb pattern. She realizes what the echo seeks, a transcontinental relay. If it hops from radar to radar, using each dish to amplify its presence, it can engrave itself permanently into the global magnetic field. Then, no Faraday cage, no blackout, will hush it. Every mind on Earth would become a speaker. The base commander scoffs, mentions UFO hysteria. Freitas slams a lead visor on the conference table, recounts Morro do Vintém in grisly detailed burnt hearts, fog of voices, Father Joaquim's martyrdom. Silence falls. The commander authorizes emergency protocol, APAGA, Azul, blue blackout. All non-essential radars will power down at 1630, hoping to starve the echo as before. But Helena grimaces. It will just leap to civilian arrays, television stations, satellites. She sketches a new strategy. Feed the echo false coordinates. If they broadcast a stronger, scrambled signal from one sacrificial dish, maybe they can lure the echo into a captured Lupin electromagnetic oubliette. The plan's keystone is an obsolete Dutch-built 40-meter dish rusting on a coastal cliff near Cabo Frio, nicknamed Abruzzo the Witch for its shrieking bearings. Long decommissioned, it can handle raw power if retrofitted with modern transmitters. The idea: spin up a white-noised maelstrom laced with shifting prime numbers and anti-phase pulses, presenting itself as the echo's perfect nest. Once the echo dives in, cut power, and ground the dish through kilometers of copper, sunken seawater letting the South Atlantic drain the Phantom like a cosmic bathtub. October 4th, 6 o'clock, convoy of engineers, soldiers, and ham radio rogues races along BR 101 toward Sabo, Frio, hauling generators, spools of copper braid, pallets of pulverized magnetite, sea wind lashes, overhead clouds, stencil faint, hexagons. Helena, visor slung at her hip, drafts the bait signal. Layers of chaotic quantum randomization, intercut with children's voices, counting prime numbers, because she remembers how the echo mimicked innocence. She records her own voice reading. Those 6 notebook lines: swallow the protective capsules, wait for the light's appearance, confirm success. She then destroys the tape head, ensuring the phrase will play only once, becoming the hook that snags the echo. You supervise, rigging copper cables from dish structure down cliffs into frothing surf. Each wave slams the shore, baptizing the cables in brine, ready to become a thunderous drain. Engineers weld a line-lined control bunker at dish base, part Faraday cage, part storm shelter. Inside, an antique oscilloscope hums, screen green, like wartime sonar. 15:38. Generators roar to life. Dish motors shriek, gears grinding rust. Abruzzo rotates toward zenith, yawning, gaping mouth at monotone sky. Helena flips sequence switch. Speakers hidden in waveguides belch the bait signal, a chorus of giggling children reciting primes, cavorting through bursts of data shaped like fractal screams. Technicians wince, but keep dials steady at redline. You, visor on, monitor the oscilloscope. At 15:59 the trace jitter changes background, hiss, replaced by a sharpening mountain peak moving toward center screen. All radars across coast report snow lessening, echo leaving them. Air Force interceptors call in clear skies. The mountain peak on scope hits center at 16:02. An ear-splitting pop rattles, dish struts, hair on nape stands, chest lesions flare, magnet. Above dish, air churns into a funnel, not of wind, but of sound silent to ears, yet roaring in bones. Hexagon fragments swirl downward, forming the obsidian facets you hoped never to see again. But scaled, small, beach ball-sized, nested one inside another like Russian dolls. Helena begins phase shift, sequence dish, booms deeper anti-signal. The mini-sphere quivers, facets flickering between black and mirror, as if confused. She whispers through mic, "Come closer, confirm." The notebook line echoes across speakers in flanged distortion. Sphere shudders, then dives into the dish throat, wedging halfway. Metal ribs groan, sparks fountain along feet horn. Oscilloscope trace flat lines, bright white full capture. Helena slams KILL2 generators. Power drops. Dish plunges into hush, broken only by gulls. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happens. Then, an ultraviolet glow seeps from every bolt, racing down support frame, into copper braids. Along cliff face straight into ocean. Horizon detonates blue-green flash. Air tastes of ozone and brine. Gulls scatter, Shrieking. Inside bunker. Oscilloscope. Flickers back. Single calm sine wave drifting to 0. Engineers exhale. Helena collapses into seat, tears streaking through soot. But victory echoes seldom stay pure. On water, steam spires twist where energy boils the Atlantic. Within hiss, a final whisper drifts into every radio handset. Mask, capsule, eternal contact. The phrase fades, replaced by ordinary static. Radar screens across Brazil report normal operation. The honeycomb clouds dissolve, and your heart lesions cool to dull ache. October 5th, recordings analyzed in Rio reveal an unexpected afterburst. Milliseconds of structured data binary that, when rendered as image, shows 2 human silhouettes kneeling on hillside, lead visors, raised skyward. It is the last snapshot of Miguel and Manuel, but their poses are waving goodbye. Helena ponders, maybe it wasn't invasion, maybe a rescue mission gone wrong. You recall Father Joaquim's last words, transmission home. Perhaps Earth merely overheard, became unwilling relay, and your blackout forced them to choose a narrower beam that finally pierced heavens. Still, doubt gnaws. If the echo moved on, did it latch onto another planet's grid, repeating the cycle? Or did you help lost pilgrims phone home? These questions swirl as you decommission a Bruxa, burying dish feed horn. In concrete, scuttling copper leads under tons of rock. Government seals the site with Atinco Perigo, signs that locals will soon ignore. Helena publishes a sanitized article, coastal radar glitch traced to solar flare. Editors love it, yet she footnotes in Easter egg initial letters of each paragraph spell real story. Few will notice. 1 sunset later. You both stand on Morro do Vintém, aluminum net, now dismantled, soil sprouting fresh grass. Fireflies blink, crickets chirp, natural rhythms. You bury the last intact lead visor beneath the earth, where notebooks lay years ago. Just in case, Helena says, patting soil. Above, Venus glows, unblinking. No honeycombs, no pulses, only the hush of a world between storms. Helena removes eye patch. Iris almost normal, concentric rings faint as forgotten radio serial. She smiles with half of her mouth exhaustion. Relief then presses a cassette into your palm. The complete recording of our broadcast, she says. A reminder to keep the wires humble. You pocket it, resolved never to play it. A breeze rustles hillside weeds, sounding like static slipping away. Chapter 9. The frequency that learned our name. June 21st, 1976, winter solstice, 001. 10 years have thawed between the Morro do Vintém siege and tonight's brittle chill. Yet the past crackles alive each time modern technology blushes into existence. You're Helena Duarte, now an investigative editor, half believing the nightmare closed. But progress is a lightning conductor. Colored televisions hum in every living room. Microwave ovens whisper microstorms, and a newborn international satellite network stitches the globe with invisible thread. Weeks ago, a Snow Polo astronomer mailed you a punch tape. He'd aimed a newly commissioned radio telescope at Centaurus A, only to snag an intrusive echo. 3 bursts at precisely 302 Hz, interleaved with prime number flutter, identical to the Cabo Frio bait signal. It's back. His letter shakes. Or it never left. You find Freitas in a hillside vineyard outside Ouro Preto, tending vines with gauze gloves. His heart lesions long healed to dark half-moons, but his gaze still tracks the sky between sentences. When you reveal the tape, he sighs, uncorks a bottle of homemade red, and mutters, "Our silence filled the valley." They grazed elsewhere. Now the satellites sing a louder hymn. Satellite dishes, lofty metal pedals on every continent, have become Earth's new choir stalls. If the echo loops among them, it will achieve what Morro do Vintém denied, planetary amplitude, and this time there is no single hill to wrap and lead. Freitas's solution is suicidal. Hijack Bracel Sato 1, the brand new geostationary bird slated for launch July 8th. Overpower its transponders with a white noise sacrament the moment solar panels unfurl short the echo at the source. The plan requires insider sabotage, orbital math, and a frequency key only one person carries. You, courtesy of the healed amber ring coiled in your right. Aí July 8.976, 7:40, Alcântara Launch Center, Maranhão. Equatorial sun glares off the rocket's silver body as countdown booms across mangrove flats. Euphrates and 2 covert allies, 1 NASA defector, 1 Brazilian audio engineer have smuggled a briefcase payload, a thumbnail-sized crystal oscillator, loaded with fractal anti-signal sequences. If inserted into the satellite's redundant beacon channel, it will drown any mass-confirm whisper in universal hiss. But the echo anticipates. 10 minutes before launch, every security monitor in the blockhouse flickers to life. Static honeycomb unfurls across screens, the shape that once nested above Guanabara Bay. Loudspeakers, not yet wired to mission control, vomit children's laughter time stretched to funeral groan. Engineers clutch ears. One collapses, blood trickling from nostrils. Outside, rocket gantry bolts hum, vibrating at 302 Hz. The echo rides wiring coax and marrow. It aims to abort sabotage by detonating the launch prematurely, scattering flaming debris like seeds of contact. Freitas thrusts a lead visor over your face he still carries. 2 in a wine crate, under pickup seat, then sprints to a maintenance port beneath launch pad, briefcase bobbing. You follow, lungs rasping superheated tropical air smelling of kerosene and ozone. Inside service tunnel. Emergency strobes stutter. You fit the visor. Darkness insulated by tin-thick lead returns, old comfort. Ahead, Freitas pries a panel, revealing braided umbilical cables pumping telemetry into rocket avionics. He slashes data lines, splicing oscillator leads with rosin core solder that sizzles on contact. The oscillator fires silent to ear, but visor picks faint tremor like wind over bone. A private cosmos of white noise blooms. Above ground, pad. Loudspeakers choke. Monitors spit rainbow snow. The honeycomb dims. Countdown voice stammers, then recovers. T-minus 4, 3, 2. Echo, starved of clean conduit, gambles fury. A stabbing surge that arcs through concrete, frying Freitas's soldering iron. Sparks bite your calf. You jam oscillator deeper, slap panel shut. 1. Ignition. The earth convulses. Rocket engines blossom red ringe, rising slow like a hot air cathedral. The echo pulses once maps of desperate tripling visor metal into momentary liquid mirror that reflects nothing but teeth of white light. Then it gutters out as the booster clears tower, carrying your saboteur crystal into cobalt sky. Telemetry stabilizes. Pad monitors return to mundane green digits. Children's laughter evaporates, but you know this is only partial victory. The echo may fail to occupy Bracel Sato 1, but other satellites orbit like stepping stones. You need a stronger argument, a final, undeniable email to Cosmos that Earth is a dead frequency. Freitas suggests the unimaginable, disabled the world's primary undersea cables at the moment the echo next hops, plunging Earth's data arteries into stone silence. The shock might starve it long enough for natural atmospheric noise to erase its pattern. You have 6 months to orchestrate. December 31st, 1976, 23:45 UTC, Atlantic winter storms batter Newfoundland. Perfect cover. A joint crew of out-of-uniform sailors and disgraced cable-laying techs deploy shaped charges onto TAT-5, the busiest transatlantic phone line. Simultaneously, co-conspirators sever coax repeaters in Ascension, Guam, and Okinawa. A global countdown syncs to Greenwich Midnight 12. Cold chimes echo inside clandestine headsets as the last chime rings. Switches throw. Seafloor relays. Cough. Lights on ocean-going status boards. Wink crimson. Around the planet, New Year's fireworks melt into unnatural hush. No live broadcasts. No time ball drop. No celebratory radio. The world's voice box clamps shut. You stand atop Morro do Vintém, now nature preserve, monitoring ionosonde graphs flickering on portable cathode. The echo should leap into cable vacuum, searching. Instead, graphs flatline white noise. Baseline only. Fright is wrapped in poncho. Whispers. Listen. Night wind rustles reeds. No television's hum. No power line sizzle. A planet of 8 billion exhaling in fearful quiet. Minutes stretch. At 007 UTC, distant magnetometers register. Tremoran echoes epileptic search ping faint as a dying star. It tries satellites, but Brussels Saito 1 spews anti-signal. It tries skywave bounce, but troposphere jitter smears pattern. Your chest lesions tingle once farewell to canned fade. The echo withers, then, .com. January 1st, 1977, 3:15 UTC, cable repair. Crews restore circuits. Teleprinters clack alive worldwide. Journalists blame domino faults, cascading equipment errors. When lines reopen, humanity rejoices at techno-fragility, promises redundancy, prays it never repeats. You and Fridas share vintage sparkling wine among hillside fireflies. The lead visors you bury deeper this time, plus oscillators sealed in ceramic jar labeled "Do Not Retrieve." You still wake at 2:02 occasionally, certain a faint Morse tries your window pane, but it never resolves past a single ... before dissolving into wind. End chapter 9. New approximately equals 17,600 characters, cumulative approximately equals 109,200 characters to be continued. Mark this line before copying next segment. Chapter 10. A voice only silence could hear. December 1st, 2016. Somerton Beach, Adelaide. 50 years to the day since a well-dressed stranger died with cryptic note Tamam Shud, another unsolved code. You, Helena Duarte, age 82, stroll windswept shore on lecture tour, preaching dangers of electromagnetic hubris. Your prosthetic, right eye cybernetic glass, still twinkles with faint amber fleck. Retirement never arrived. Mysteries breed invitations. Tonight conference organizers lodge you at Seaside Motel. Windows rattle with Antarctic gusts. Breakers flash white under sodium lamps. At 2:02 local. Bedside transistor purchased habitually, and always kept disassembled snaps on though batteries lie on desk. Speaker exudes antique crackle. Helena. Light confirmed. Safe. You may rest. Voice is unmistakably Fright is dead 10 years prior, from quiet vineyard stroke. Tears prick. You ask nothing, just listen. Signal fades, replaced by long carrier. Wave exactly 302 Hz, but gentle now, like a lullaby tuning fork. It quivers 10 seconds, then ceases. Radio clicks off. Silence. You smile. Perhaps cosmic circuitry finally closed its circuit, freed of amplification hunger. Perhaps souls of technicians, priest, inspector found eternal contact after all. You close eyes. Whisper gratitude. Dear listener, if you felt the hairs on your arms rise when the static whispered, if you glimpsed the ghost bright edge of the lead. Masks in the dark. Don't let the signal die here. Subscribe to our channel for more true nightmares pulled from fractured headlines and forgotten police files. Hit the bell icon so every new broadcast finds you first before the static does. Share this story with friends who leave televisions on overnight. Warn them that some frequencies still roam hungry. And in the comments section below, tell us, what mystery should we unmask next? Because out there, in the hum behind the power lines, more real stories are waiting just a heartbeat past the edge of silence. Keep your visor ready. and keep listening.